Alright, what's up guys? Today's topic that I will be talking about is quarantine and the reasons behind why I choose to quarantine. Mostly it's just fish for me for right now, but if I had the funds and stuff, I actually would do a coral quarantine tank too, because there's all types of pests on corals and you don't want to get into your main display tank and just cause chaos into things like flatworms and all type of pests that you don't want into a reef tank. But for quarantine fish, the reason why I quarantine fish is because my 150 gallon reef tank, a lot of you guys know my big tank. When I first started, I was so excited, guys. When the tank got cycled, I wanted to buy fish right away after the cycle process. And I do my research, guys, okay? But my very first saltwater aquarium, I had a 65 gallon. I never quarantined. My fish was all healthy, never had a problem with diseases. But my second reef aquarium, that was the 150 gallon reef tank that I still have, I was dealing with problems with my first batch of fish. My first batch of fish, I think, was a Melanaris wrasse, a blue throat triggerfish, and some other small little fish. I forgot specifically what I had went and got, but everything was going fine when I put them into the reef aquarium. But I started to notice the fish started scratching very vigorously onto the rocks of my reef tank. And then I was like, okay, nothing to worry about, But as weeks go on, they kept scratching. I'm like, something is irritating these fish. And then another week go by, bam, just ick outbreak. It was a bad ick outbreak because I did lose a lot of my fish, and I think I did lose all of my fish actually, because one simple thing that I did not do is quarantine my fish. You're going all out, buying fish from different local fish stores, but you don't know truly how healthy these fish are. Sure, they can say these people quarantine fish, but I really, in my honest opinion, I don't trust anybody. Like, there's probably a few people that I do trust that says they quarantine, but you gotta use, I think you just gotta use common sense and say, just don't trust anybody what they say, because they just trying to sell fish. That's their business. They want to get things moving and out and get people purchasing fish. So sad to say, I lost my first batch of fish. And then here's the thing, guys. I did not learn from my first mistake. So I was so sad. I lost my first batch of fish, and then after I think 2 weeks, I went and got another batch of fish, put it into my reef tank. Same thing happened. I was so upset, and I knew the mistake. I just didn't take action. I really didn't believe into quarantine, to be honest. But safe to say, my third batch of fish, I went and bought. This is a 10 gallon quarantine tank. I went and bought a 20 gallon long quarantine tank from Petco, and it wasn't a lot of money at all. So I went, did my research, started doing the quarantine process, and it was safe to say everything worked out great. As soon as when I bought my third batch of fish, first thing I did, place them in quarantine, see if they got any diseases or anything. I observed the fish for 2 weeks or 4 weeks to however long it takes to cure whatever diseases that the fish may have. And like I said, it was safe to say when I had went and put all my new fish into my reef display tank, I was nervous at this point. I was like, man, what if it happens again? Like, I don't know what to do at this point. But everything turned out great, man. A lot of people know my 150 gallon reef tank. If you don't know, look at my recent, my past videos, and all my fish is really healthy. I tell you guys, nothing beats quarantine. Quarantine is the key, because first off, when you buy a fish, you want to see it eaten in the store, right? So when you take it home with you, I would rather put it into a separate tank to fatten the fish up even more before I put it into my main display tank with a bunch of hungry, greedy fish that will eat everything up. So, and it's plus aggression. So I would always quarantine every new fish that I buy. My second batch of fish, I had marine velvet, wiped out all my fish. You know how much money I lost? Like, it was no joke. But and then there's also sayings, and it's true. Even though if you have a quarantine tank, it's not going to 100% wipe out every disease. That's just, it's not going to happen, but it will prevent a lot of mistakes that's going to happen into your reef tank if you don't quarantine. And yeah, guys, it's really, to me, a lot. I know a lot of people about the quarantine situation, but to me, quarantine is a must. That's why I went and got a small 10-gallon aquarium. You can go to your Petco, PetSmart. They're not expensive. It's 5, 10, 20-gallon aquarium. And it all depends on the fish that you want. I have a 10-gallon aquarium. I can't put no big tang in a 10-gallon aquarium. It depends on the size of fish that you want. Since I have a 50-gallon lagoon, I'm going with smaller fish and smaller wrasses, so a 10-gallon aquarium fits just fine. I'm gonna show you guys the equipment that I went and bought that's gonna be working into this quarantine tank. Right here, hang on the back filter. These are some of the items that you're gonna need to run a quarantine tank. So this is just a hang on the back filter. This is a must for me. If you're gonna be using copper, I like to use a test kit that I can rely on so I don't kill my fish. And there's a lot of problems when a lot of overdoses with copper. And this is the copper Hannah checker. This is a big investment for me, just for the quarantine tank, because I really want to see the right measurements of that copper in this quarantine tank. Because I hate reading those color changing test charts. Most of the time, it's just you're gonna overdose, and you don't want that. Here's another good thing, Prazi Pro. I love Prazi Pro because it works against flukes and other marine diseases that can wipe out your fish. So all these things that I'm only using into quarantine. And equipment, like how I'm using equipment, this aeration. For you see the sponges and stuff. This is for aeration into the quarantine tank. So the gravel vacuum. Here's the thing: you want to use separate equipment from your two tanks. You do not want to. Okay, if I use this gravel cleaner and there's copper in here or whatever medicine that's in here, and then I use it to my main reef tank, you're taking that copper and putting it into your main display, and that's going to kill your coral. So you want to you want to use separate equipment. I got separate equipment for both tanks. You know, I'm not using the same equipment from one tank to another, and that goes with fish nets also. So you want to be very cautious when you have a quarantine tank also. You know, just PVC pipe for fish to hide in. Got two. I went and got two small fans that's gonna be in. I may only need one, I don't know. Let me check out the flow when I hook everything up. And then this is a must for me. It's that Chem ammonia alert badge. I always use this for every time on all my quarantine systems. I have that ammonia alert, so it lets me know if there's ammonia, and you can see the different level. Like the yellow is safe, purple is toxic, the greens, you know, alert and alarm. So it's a good indicator for your quarantine tank. So if there's a lot of ammonia in the tank, it lets you know you need to do a water change as soon as possible. So yeah, guys, the quarantine tank for me is a great investment, especially if you have a reef aquarium. And the reason I do is for they keep my fish healthy. When I told you guys in the beginning stages, when I didn't quarantine my fish, I saw the terrible mistakes that caused me money because I didn't quarantine. So I learned my lesson big time, and my first mistake, it's sad to say I didn't learn my lesson for my first mistake, losing my fish. And then when I had added my second batch of fish, the same thing happened. So and then obviously the third time, all my fish stayed alive, everything was healthy, eating good. Because all you need, like I said, depending on the type of fish that you're having for your reef aquarium, like I said, for me, I have a 50-gallon lagoon, so I'm going with smaller reef fish. So I went and got a 10-gallon aquarium, which isn't that much money. I would never set up a reef aquarium without a quarantine tank. That's just what I do. I say, going back to the mistakes, you know, you sometimes you just need to learn from your mistakes and have success, guys. So there you guys have it, man. A lot of times, if you're gonna invest your money, I would highly recommend a quarantine tank because it saved me a lot of money from losing fish. And sometimes you're gonna lose fish into the quarantine tank. It's just my thoughts on quarantine. So hope you guys liked the video.